Rules in Infinity. There's just too many of them. I just want to roll my beautiful dice from Baron of Dice and do violence. Special skills will allow you to perform violence under more favorable conditions. Explain how.
Holo projectors put a three-dimensional image into the physical world. They evolved from massive naval systems down to personal units carried by individuals. Modern versions can totally cover a user, changing their external appearance to bluff an opponent. They can even project an envelope of light apart from the user, emitted from hovering drones that can replicate sound and sometimes other emissions. These nanotechnological illusions have enough mass and verisimilitude to convince hostiles in the heat of battle. There are two relevant rules in Infinity which can be combined together: Holomask and Holoecho. As of writing, there are a limited number of units with Holomask. They are all listed on screen. Most factions have at least one. The ones in bold only have Holomask and not the Holo Projector. Holomask is generally used during the deployment phase. During deployment, simply place a different miniature instead of the real one. They have to have the same silhouette value, so if you put down Ensign Catherine Cho, you can have her appear as an Epsilon, a Kappa, a Beta Trooper, etc. To complete the illusion, when you're generating a courtesy list in the Infinity Army Builder, you can even choose a specific unit to fake out your opponent. Pass them a list showing extra Hectors, for instance. This is private information. You do not have to tell your opponent the truth if they ask about a model in Holomask state. You instead tell them they have whatever gear their disguise says it does. However, you still have the properties of the real trooper. You don't gain any extra gear.
You don't get to deploy with the Mukhtar's forward deployment. And during the resolution step of the order, only once they've committed and you're actually rolling dice, you tell your opponent you have no mimetism mods after all. Damn. Similarly, let's say that you have a Tao Wu pretending to be a terracotta soldier with a heavy machine gun. Tao Wu is good up close, but you're pretending to be a long-ranged heavy infantry instead. An enemy hacker declares that they're using the Carbonite program, but during the resolution step, when you go to roll dice, they find out that the target is in fact not hackable, and the hacking attack is cancelled. This doesn't even break the Holomask state, by the way. It just means that it's clear that this is not what it appears to be. This works through repeaters too. You have a Bashi Bazook cleverly disguised as the hackable heavy infantry, a Hassassin Bokhtar. You walk forward through the enemy repeater, and they try to hit you with Oblivion to isolate you. And once they go to roll dice, you check to see if it's legal and say, no, this guy does not need an operating system for his legs. There's nothing to hack. This can be very satisfying.
Holomask state is cancelled quite easily though. If the trooper declares anything with the attack label, like shooting a gun, hacking, pushing a button, etc., then the truth is revealed. If they declare lookout or any skill that requires a roll, then the mask breaks. If they declare any kind of entire order, except for cautious movement, it breaks. If they get hit by something and they have to make a saving roll, then the Holomask is revealed. You can bluff having lots of armor, but not once you get shot.
If the Holomask gets into silhouette contact, then the Holomask is revealed. Once you're fighting in close combat with someone, it's easy to tell who they really are. The blade shaves off lies, revealing only the truth. Troopers can use their holomasks even if they're a part of fireteams, but if they declare a skill that isn't movement or support, then they are revealed.
In rare occasions, the trooper might become impetuous or enter the retreat state. They can also be hit by a successful discover. This also cancels the holomask. When the state is cancelled, remove the fake model with the real model, keeping the same facing. Cancellation of the state is applied to the entirety of the declared order, even if the skill revealing the trooper is performed at the end of the order. You can turn it back on by spending an entire order while unseen by enemies, but it's probably not worth it because the opponent knows what it really is. Similarly, you can discover any unit if you think it's a holomask trooper, but also not worth the time.
That's all complicated and cool, but really this just boils down to being an extra tool for mind games. You can pretend to be a juicy target that invites a foolish attack. You can hide your lieutenant behind a holographic disguise. You can simply use a different weapon loadout to trick your opponent into unfavorable matchups.
Then comes the Holo Projector. These listed units have Holo Projectors. Many of them also have the Holomask ability. The one in bold only has the Holo Projector and can't disguise itself.
This skill allows you to project up to 3 holo echoes. When a model deploys, slap 2 extra markers, or also commonly 3 markers, or sometimes even 3 miniatures to represent your holo echoes. Each holo echo must be in zone of control of another holo echo, but it doesn't have to be the real one. You can chain them along pretty nicely, and you should perform a coherency check at the start and end of every order if you're moving them around. For example, a Bashi Bazook can use parachutists to enter the game table from the table edge, and while all 3 do have to be legally deployed, that is, touching the table edge and in a legal area, they can be really spread out. If you take up the full 16 inches, that's a huge amount of space. The 3 holo echoes work quite a bit like normal solid troopers. They have a vision angle of 180 degrees. They trigger mines and crazy koalas and such. They block line of fire. Critically, each one provides only 1 arrow. That is, reactive troopers still have to choose one of the 3 holo echoes and hope they pick the right one to shoot at. Holo echoes also work a bit like camouflage markers in that you can delay and discover against them. When facing off against holo echoes, reactive troopers can delay, meaning they hold their arrow until the second half of the active trooper's order has been declared. But just like with camo markers, if you choose to delay and the active trooper doesn't reveal themselves with their second skill, say they just sort of move along, well, you lose the right to declare an arrow. You can also try to discover them. This works just like camouflage, and on a success, you realize, hey, is that the real guy or not? But it's usually more efficient to just shoot the target with a gun, if you think it's the real guy. Although you can't split your burst, units reacting to 3 holo echoes still have to choose just one of them to react against. Holo echoes replicate any states of the real model, like being prone or wounded. They're the same guy, they're just pretending to be in a different place. One small point, if a holo echo marker is in the hacking area of an enemy, then the enemy knows if it's hackable. Their Wi-Fi signal appears on the screen or something, I don't know. Holo echoes are really cool. If the unit has the surprise attack special skill, you can also use surprise attack in the aft. If the trooper has the surprise attack special skill, and they often do if they've got holo echoes, then they can also use it to impose that -3 negative penalty in the active turn. Very consistent and a great way to stack the mods in your favor. If a holo echo has to roll dice, like if it's attacking, or if it gets discovered, or if it breaks coherency with the others, maybe it declares an entire order other than cautious movement, or maybe it enters silhouette contact, then the truth comes out. If it was just a decoy, then it gets removed from the game table and goes poof. If someone shoots and hits a hologram, for example, it goes away. You don't even make a saving roll because there was nothing there. If it was the real trooper, then remove all the holographic decoys and replace it with the real model. Holo projector units are definitely not one-time use though. At the end of any player's turn, that's your turn or your opponent's turn, if the bearer of a holo projector is outside the line of fire of enemy markers and troopers, then, for free, during the state step, for free, it can turn back on, re-entering the holo echo state. This means you can turn from 1 guy into 3 markers, with the other 2 holo echoes in silhouette contact with the holo projector bearer. This is super cool because it allows you to, once again, make a note in secret which is the real one, which one are just light particles. You also technically get a tiny bit of free movement out of this, since when you go into the holo echo state, you could be any of these 3 holo echoes. By the way, if you are curious about the product I've been using here, these are the holo echo markers from Warsenal. This is not paid product placement. I just really like them. They come in packs of 3. They've got the holo echo versus actual written on the bottom, which I think is kind of cool. I don't know. I just think they're a cool product and they're recommended. You can also obviously follow the rules and just use the miniature alongside 2 holo echo markers, but come on. These are really fun. They go particularly good with the big chunky dice from Baron of Dice, by the way. Oh, they roll so good. Okay, enough product placement. You should know by now the general rules and the overall vibe of holo echoes and holomask. So let's talk about combining the 2 and also good ways to actually use them. When you deploy a trooper that has both holomask and holo echo, you can use both at once. Instead of putting out holo echo markers, you can put out 3 matching models with the same loadout. If you have a Kotail, then during deployment you could pretend to be 3 Chaksa, for instance, and make your opponent hopefully ignore them until it's time to go on the attack. Your Hassassin IR could pretend to be 3 Gulams with Panzerfaust. You could be 3 Saladins or something. These aren't always good ideas. Sometimes they're kind of edge cases. Like, I don't know how often it really is beneficial to have 3 Saladins on the table or something, but it's cool, and it's neat that it's an option. Just bear in mind that when you have 3 models, even if you have 3 miniatures, the second you start spending orders on them, you have to actually tell your opponent, hey, these are holo echoes, because they need to have the ability and option to delay and discover them. So the second you start spending orders, the jig is up, you know. Therefore, the 3 miniatures plan is probably better if you are like going second, you know. So like the top of the first turn, you're going second. The opponent doesn't know that 3 models of yours are actually holo echoes, and you don't have to respond with them right away. That's the ideal use case for having the 3 miniatures thing. Deep down, I don't think that holo echo is that amazing, and it is a bit complex for what it does. At its core, you can play mind games with your opponent, and you can use it to get your troopers up close for when you need them in the mid-game or late game. They're also consistently useful for clearing out mines and crazy koalas, since the holo echoes do force the mines and other deployables to trigger. It's a few inches of free movement when you go back into the holo echo state, so that's cool. The most straightforward use is to have a holo echo trooper move forward, forcing opponents to choose the wrong echoes, and then hitting them with surprise attack to give extra modifiers, or not attacking at all and simply getting extra movement. One tactic I've used is to come around a corner with 3 holo echoes. Most enemies choose to delay their arrow, assuming you're about to shoot. If they delay, then just keep on walking. If they choose to shoot, well, there's still a good chance they choose the wrong one. When you combine the 2 skills, you do play some interesting mind games at the start of the game, but the jig is usually up pretty quick. Still, I wouldn't discount the psychological effect. Opponents should often internalize holo echoes as potential threat vectors, and you can really psych people out.
Time for a final summary of rules and tactics. If I could summarize the rule, if you want to use Holomask, pretend to be a different unit to bait your opponent into attacking it. Or pretend to be something worthless so they avoid it, or pretend to be something strong so they don't come close to it. If it's your lieutenant, pretend to be a model like a digger or something to appear not worth the hassle of trying to kill it. The Holomask goes away basically whenever the masked model rolls dice. Holo Projector means you deploy a unit as a model and 2 markers, or 3 holo echoes, same thing. You make note of the real one. It does not have to be the actual miniature. You move around, and enemies can only react to one of the 3 holo echoes. If a holo echo rolls dice, it's revealed, either as a fake, which puffs into nothing, or as the real one, which continues as normal. Enemy units can treat holo echoes like camo markers. Enemy units can treat holo echoes like camo markers in the sense that they can delay and discover against holo echoes. Holo echoes also trigger deployables like mines. At the end of every turn, if the Holo Projector trooper is out of enemy line of fire, it can redeploy and turn into 3 holo echoes. You should use troopers with Holo Projectors to clear out mines safely and get into annoying positions. Try to use them to get into your ideal range and then cause lots of problems. This is the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Quick little video for some friends, in part because there are some new players in my local meta, and I wanted to explain this interesting and hard to use and very stylish rule to them. Is there a rule you really want to see explained? Let me know, and I will do my best to, to cover it. In the meantime, thank you so much. Have a good one.